As technology progresses, instantaneous communication has not only become possible but alarmingly accessible. Obviously, this progression in technology has allowed the sharing of information to be conducted all over the world in a matter of seconds. Naturally, this has had a profoundly positive impact for individuals and businesses alike. However, as new technology has progressed, there has been the emergence of several new crimes which were near impossible without the technology possessed today. One of these aforementioned crimes is revenge porn. Citrin and Franks define revenge porn as the distribution of sexually graphic images of individuals without consent. The impacts of revenge porn are profound. However, the difficulty not only lies in dealing with the aftermath of revenge porn, but also in policing what is a new and elusive crime. Through the analysis of several academic articles written on the topic, as well as Hannah Thompson's article titled Revenge Porn Victim, my ex-boyfriend told the world I was a slut. I started to believe it, published by The Telegraph in England. The true impact of revenge porn will be investigated, as well as the effectiveness of legal reforms and redress in policing of this crime. The Telegraph article is a recollection of a victim of revenge porn, Hannah Thompson. According to the article, her ex-boyfriend repeatedly posted explicit pictures of Thompson on his online blog, with the captions including the words slut and whore. Thompson then discusses her paranoia in regards to monitoring and reporting the spread of these images, the police's inability to help her, and finally, the revelation of her story and active advocacy for the criminalisation of revenge porn. The impacts of revenge porn are often under-recognised or prescribed limited significance. Henry and Powell argue that the existence of revenge porn can be used to perpetuate a cycle of domestic violence in society, as revenge porn is often used as a threat to prevent victims from leaving an abusive partner and consequently exiting an abusive cycle. According to Citrin and Franks, the impacts of revenge porn are widespread, including reputation damage and psychological trauma. As seen from Thompson's experience in the aforementioned article, the impact of revenge porn can lead to paranoia regarding the monitoring of these images, as well as psychological damage, as she quotes, "My self-confidence disappeared, and I felt every inch the whore and slut he'd labelled me." Consequently, it is evident that revenge porn not only can increase fear and angst, but can also detrimentally impact self-confidence and self-worth. The fact that revenge porn is extremely damaging to the victims is undisputable. What is more difficult is determining what is the correct response should be in terms of law and policing. New laws were passed late last year which criminalised the act of maliciously distributing internet images without consent. Thompson, in the mentioned article, stated that the police were of the opinion they were unable to help her. Due to these new laws, perhaps a recent situation in Victoria would not elicit the same response. According to Dr. Nicola Henry, a writer on rape justice, these laws are not enough as she advocates for a specific law against revenge porn. Regardless of this, it is apparent that the largest difficulty concerning revenge porn is the physical policing of it. According to Bloom, there is a dual constraint in effective policing of revenge porn. Firstly, Bloom proposes that police lack education or appropriate training in policing internet crimes, and this makes implementations of laws regarding revenge porn exceedingly difficult. Secondly, Bloom theorises that the anonymity associated with revenge porn makes prosecution of the leaker difficult. Finally, Bloom proposes that even if prosecution is brought, this can be detrimental to the victim because their privacy, which is really the subject of removing this revenge porn, can be further impeded by the progressing court proceedings. Due to these limitations, it is evident that revenge porn, as is the case with many other cybercrimes, cannot be approached with the same policing techniques as other crimes. Instead, in order to police this crime, perhaps the underlying, more fundamental reasons behind this offence must be addressed. Chris Kaiser, an American lawyer, states in reference to revenge porn that we recognise it as an act of power and control. Henry and Power further state that it is not only revenge that motivates men, but more so a pattern of abuse, both physical and mental, against women in these situations. Lewis goes as far to equate revenge porn with terrorism, with the justification that the aim of both is to instill fear in a target demographic. Regardless of whether this last analogy is overreaching, it is starkly evident that revenge porn goes simply beyond revenge, but instead a broad societal problem stemming from a drastic power imbalance in these relationships. Dr. Nicola Henry therefore proposes what is needed is a multi-pronged attack, consisting of education and a reduction or ceasing of victim blaming. Reducing victim blaming is an essential element to overcoming revenge porn, according to Citrin and Franks, as it repositions the blame against the offender rather than the victim. Furthermore, more must be done to reduce the antiquated power divide, which still exists, albeit to a lesser extent, between men and women within a domestic relationship. This imbalance has been problematic for a long time. However, with the introduction of new technologies, new crime has thrived due to this inequality. Concurrently, support must also be offered for the victim. Thompson, the victim from the Telegraph article, recalls the moment she sought help from her grandmother as a turning point in the reconstruction of her confidence and self-resilience. Furthermore, Thompson advocates for a more structured support network in order to assist victims who are victimised by this crime. However, care must be taken when drafting new laws in regards to revenge porn. Freedom on communication and speech remains an integral right in order to sustain the democratic liberty of our society. Laws that are drafted too broadly may have the adverse effect of significantly hindering the freedom of speech, and in particular, the freedom of the press. A reviewed article from The Economist uses the case of former American Congressman Anthony Weiner to highlight this. Weiner was infamously associated with the sending of nude images of himself, a claim he heatedly denied. As the impending election approached, photos of the aforesaid nature were released. This instance is clearly a form of non-consensual pornography or distribution of pornography, and this example illustrates that laws like this may indeed have the impact of prosecuting those for their exercise of free speech in order to inform the knowledge of the public. In conclusion, it is evident that the policing of cybercrimes, including revenge porn, is a dynamic process which will only continue to evolve. Consequently, the drafting of new laws is integral to the punishment of these new crimes. However, addressing the broader issues that underlie crimes like revenge porn seems just as urgent. If the power inequity is not restrained in the domestic relationship, abuse will not cease and may simply manifest through methods such as revenge porn. Furthermore, the Telegraph's article about Hannah Thompson highlights the detrimental impacts of revenge porn upon the victim. Furthermore, this article confirms the need to have concurrent operation of prosecution of the offenders, as well as support networks for the victims. As Hannah Thompson states, "I don't want to read another story of someone driven to suicide because their explicit photos were shared without their consent."